What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Student Built Startups podcast. I'm your host, Cameron Stone, entrepreneur and marketing analytics student at UMD. I interview student entrepreneurs to share their stories and business strategies. Today's guest will speak about scaling your business through effective branding. He has a ton of experience in this arena, from starting and selling 3 successful businesses and growing his current business across Southbound Africa. He will be sharing his story and how his education has played a role in it. I encourage you to go check out his Instagram at Mpho Botha _. That is MPHO BOTHA _. I'm really excited to introduce you all to the owner of Mpho Botha Events, Mpho Botha. Hope you're doing good today. I'll have you start off by saying hello to everyone listening and sharing one crazy but true fact about yourself with the audience.
Hi, my name is Mpho Botha. I'm proudly from South Africa. One crazy fact about me would be I was once Mr. Teen World, and I've been in the pageant industry for the longest of time. I know it's a bit odd for a guy to be in the pageant industry. So yeah.
Well, that's cool. That is pretty interesting and kind of crazy. So that's pretty cool. Is that something you've kind of been like passionate about since you were like young?
It really is, because the thing is, I was bullied in primary school, which you guys call junior high. So after that, a teacher said to me, "Hey, there was like a pageant happening in our town, and it was a Mr. and Miss. And it's like, why don't you try this out just to gain a bit of confidence?" Because my confidence was so low, I couldn't even speak in front of the class. So I gave it a try, and then after that, like, I won this cool MP3 player. And back then there was like, if you had an MP3 player, you're like the coolest kid ever. So I was like so happy. And I was like, oh my word, you get to win cool prizes. And I fell in love with like being on stage, talking, dressing up. And then the rest is history. I started being really passionate about it.
Well, that's really cool. It kind of sounds like you found what you were passionate about, and it kind of led you down the path that you're going on now.
Yes, it definitely did.
So I'll have you start off talking about a little about your education and your entrepreneurial story, including some of the details about your past and current businesses.
Yeah, so currently I am studying for a Bachelor's of Business Administration. I'm hoping that one day I'll do my MBA. And I started my business journey when I was 14, and was subconsciously like, in South Africa, I know, like, the world knows that Africa is very poor. So poverty faces like 9 out of 10 people. So I grew up very poor, and at home we didn't have a lot. And I attended a private school. So it was very difficult for me. And I was like, I'd really like to afford certain things, and I'd really like to help out my mom because she's a single mother. So I had rich friends, obviously, because it's a private school. And I saw a need. There was a school tuck shop where we used to, in America, I know you guys get free meals or something. We had to like literally go buy at the tuck shop. So it was like a long queue and everybody hated it. So I thought, what if I bought for all my rich friends and they pay me a fee? So I started buying for like 2 people, and became 5 people. And then became like 10 people. And that's how my first business started. And then I went on to sell candy in class, because we'd all get hungry because we had like long periods and only like one break time. So I sold candy in class. That business also did really well, and I started employing my fellow classmates to also sell for me. And that's how it all started. And then I remember when I turned 14, because I was in pageants, everybody, after winning the Mr. Teen World title, was asking me, how do we enter for a pageant? How do we go internationally? How do we go nationally? And I thought, what if I started a pageant in my town? And I literally turned that pageant into a business. And yeah, that's how I started.
Wow, that is really, really cool. I think you definitely had that entrepreneurial spirit, because I mean, most kids in school don't think about like how they can like make money and think of an idea like going and standing in line for the other kids and having them pay you a fee. I think that's like a very ingenuitive, very kind of interesting, fun way to make a little money, especially in school.
Yeah, true. Thank you for that.
Yeah. So was there like a specific point in time when you determined that entrepreneurship and this whole path that you're on now was kind of the route you wanted to take?
Yes, it was also in high school. High school was such a weird time for me. I feel like I was adulting. I was being an adult in high school. Because I think it was in 10th grade, was 15 years old, I started an online store. So I would import cell phone covers, cases from, it was Japan, and I would sell it at school. And from that point on, I knew I had two business running. I was like, I am definitely born to do this. And I started doing some self-reflection because when I was younger, I'd literally sit with my laptop. I had like these junior laptops and we had a landline at home and I'd sit and pretend to be a CEO and conduct like meetings. So I was like, oh my word, it totally makes sense. This is the path that I'm meant to take.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. I think that's cool that you kind of had that experience that young. So I know you mentioned in the pre-interview that you were Mr. Teen World in 2016.
Yes.
How did that kind of impact your path of being an entrepreneur and maybe the growth of that as well?
It really did, because what it did, in I've noticed in America, pageantry for males is not as popular as in South Africa. So I got a lot of media attention, like I was on national newspapers, and I remember I was on also African publications and so on. So that media attention literally led to people following me, adding me on Facebook, liking my Facebook pages, and then I sort of used that to grow my businesses, to grow my platform. Because now I was also not running my phone case business in school, but I was also doing it on Instagram, which the following I got from winning Mr. Teen World. So it really helped me to sort of build a brand for myself and to pull in people to invest in my brand. And what also helped me is doing things that were in the pageant industry, because my first event was literally a pageant. So people were like, oh my word, this guy won an international competition. He must know what he's doing. So it became so much easier for me, for media to invest in my events, to cover my events, for sponsors to come on board, for people to come on board. So yeah, it did help a lot.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can tell that you are totally passionate about this pageant thing and entrepreneurship. You got a lot of energy.
Thank you so much.
So what steps did you take, or what kind of actions did you take to learn kind of what running a business requires and how to do that successfully?
I think I sort of just threw myself in the deep end with every business that I've started. I remember when I started the pageant, I didn't know how to organize an event or do anything. So I literally paid a graphics guy to do a poster for me, promoted it on social media, and then I faced challenges as I come along the journey, and I would just deal with those challenges. Even with the phone covers, I knew nothing about importing things and having an online business and sending orders all over the country. But I literally threw myself in the deep end and I was like, sink or swim. So with me, I think the steps that I've always taken is, and one thing I've learned with entrepreneurship, never ever be afraid to start, never ever be afraid to get into an industry you don't know anything about. And now the beauty is we have Google, we have the internet, we have YouTube on how-tos. So just start, and the resources will come along, the right people will come along, everything will work out for you if you keep pushing.
Absolutely. I cannot agree with you more on that. That is absolutely right. Just throwing yourself in the deep end and just kind of immersing yourself in it is, I think that's one of the most effective ways to learn, because you might make some mistakes, you might make some failures, but you're definitely going to learn from those.
True.
So kind of speaking along those, something similar, if there was one thing that you kind of wish you would have known before you started, what do you think that would have been?
I wish someone would say to me, entrepreneurship is not easy. Because I feel like these days, entrepreneurship is a trend and everybody on Instagram is an entrepreneur. Everybody's an entrepreneur, and people just think it's so easy. You have a business, you have an idea, you'll make your first million within the first year, which is the idea that I had in my head. I remember I would sit down in the exam room and jot down how much money I'm going to make by the end of the year. But being in it, you realize how hard and difficult it is. You realize there's so many things that people are not aware of that it takes to be an entrepreneur. You have to manage your time. You have to sacrifice a lot of things. You have to know about taxes. And because this year I had my account frozen by the tax man in South Africa. So I wish like people would have let me know about those things, about filing your taxes, being compliant with the government, like knowing what it really takes to run a business and how to run it successfully and how to do it sustainably. Because there's a lot of things that entrepreneurs don't know, like finances, marketing, scaling, branding, social media, email marketing, a lot of things they don't know. And it's like we are sold this fallacy that if you become an entrepreneur, it's going to be an amazing and you're going to be a millionaire.
Yeah, it's been kind of glamorized in the last like 5 to 10 years, I think. And I think that people's perceptions of entrepreneurship is that you just have an idea and then you just go and like make $1 million with it. But there's like so much underneath the surface that most people like don't understand. And like every day I learn something new about like, well, I wish I would have known that. But it is a lot more than you expect, even if you expect a lot.
True. I definitely agree with that.
So how have you used your past failures to help you grow and be more successful?
When I was starting out, I got a lot of support and a lot of resistance. So I would have a lot of people writing negative things on my Facebook page, negative things on my business. So there was a lot of negativity. And I remember this one time, a group of people came together and literally tarnished my business and my brand. And that sort of helped me build a strong character. Because I don't think a lot of people understand, as an entrepreneur, you need to build a strong character, especially if you want to run a big and a successful business. You literally have to train yourself to get up after being knocked down so many times. You have to train yourself that you're not perfect and things are not always going to work according to plan. And people are not always going to like you or believe in your business. And in the beginning, that's very hard because literally nobody believes in your idea, because I believe in one saying that the universe did not give the vision to other people, it gave it to you. So it's very hard for people to understand this path that you're on. And you will get a lot of resistance and you will fail a lot and you will make a lot of mistakes. And making mistakes, getting a lot of resistance, failing a lot, being knocked down a lot, literally built my character so much, and it has helped me today as an entrepreneur and running my business and even being strong as a person.
Absolutely. Yeah. You really knocked that one out of the park. So I got a follow-up question for that. So, and I totally lost my train of thought right there. That was convenient. We're going to move on.
Okay. That's cool.
So what's your number one priority in business?
My number one priority in business is to make money. And I think it should be everybody's number one priority. Don't get into business with the concept that you want to be charitable. You're not a nonprofit. You need to remember you are a business and you need to run a business. And how does a business survive? By making money. So in all your efforts, in all your level of thinking, in all your implementation, keep in mind that you need to make money. And I think when I started, I wanted to please people. I wanted to make people happy. That's also important for your clients, but don't do that at the cost of not making money. Because at the end of the day, it's really making money. And it has helped me. It has helped my business grow so much, because once you have the availability of funds, that's where you can really scale your business. That's where you can employ people. That's where you can diversify your products. That's where you can grow your influence and grow your marketing budget,
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. I think that in order to like actually have an impact, you do need to have a steady stream of income into your business. That way you can use that money in the ways that you wish.
Sure.
And I remembered what I was going to say about the last question. So regarding failures and like being like who you mentioned something about like being kind of comfortable with who you are, and like when you're first starting out, people might put you down or say negative things. And I think that it's like super important that as an entrepreneur, you have to be like totally comfortable and learn to like be just perfectly happy with who you are and know who you are as like a person, and not let anybody kind of put you down because of who you are, because I mean it's you. So
Yeah.
that's kind of like my kind of thing that I thought of when you were talking about that.
That's very true, actually. And something that I learned last year, and it took me a long time. I think I dedicated about 6 months on working on myself. And because when it is easy to be who you are, or no, let me not say to be who you are. It is easy when people like you. It is easy when you are celebrated and you're popular. But once you start having a voice, once you start disrupting society's popular opinion or popular belief, and once you start embracing yourself and being comfortable with yourself, not a lot of people are going to like you, because you are going against what you used to be, and you're going against popular belief. So once people stopped liking me, I literally had to go back home, sit down with myself, cry a bit, and literally work on myself and work on being comfortable with that, who I am. And I developed sort of like a strategy or a formula that if you don't make me money, if you don't advance me, then I shouldn't care about your opinion. I think more than ever as entrepreneurs, you need to firstly know yourself. You need to be comfortable with yourself, because there are points and times where the world is going to hate you because you made a mistake or your business did something. And we find it with even highly successful people. There's a point where Oprah was even hated, and that is one thing you should really think about when you're going into entrepreneurship. And I know a lot of people are very comfortable with hiding behind their business. They don't want to be, they don't want the public to know who's running the store or who's running this business. But at the end of the day, sometimes you are the face of your business. You are, and especially if your business is literally linked to your personal brand, you should work on yourself, be comfortable with yourself, because not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody's going to support you. And once you're comfortable and you know yourself, let me tell you, the attacks of the world means absolutely nothing.
Yeah. In the long run, you're going to be like so much happier when you're like 100% comfortable with who you are. It's just,
sure.
It's got to be a game changer.
It really is.
So when you were first starting out, what would you say was your biggest fear that you had?
I think I feared failure, and I feared lack of support. When growing up, I actually hosted my first pageant when I was 13 years old. And at that pageant, nobody attended. Like, I booked a school hall, I decorated it, I booked everything, I paid off everything, and then no one came. It was only my mom. So that incident literally played such a huge role in everything that I did after that. I had this fear of lack of people supporting me, or fear of failure. And once I got into the journey, the process of being an entrepreneur and starting all these businesses, I literally learned to be comfortable with fear. I learned to embrace fear, and I learned to look at failure. I learned to look at failure not as failure, but rather as lessons. Because I don't believe we really fail. We learn lessons, if you think about it. Like, it's about perspective, how you look at that failure. Are you going to get up from that failure, or is that failure going to keep you down? Are you going to repeat the same mistakes, or are you going to do something to change what happened? Are you going to work just a bit more harder because of that failure? Are you going to work a bit more smarter? Are you going to learn more? Are you going to invest more in your business? Are you going to ask more questions? So I think it's about perspective when it comes to failure. Some people look at failure as the end of the world, and then some of us look at failure as it's a stepping stone.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's a big mindset shift, especially if you're used to looking at failure as like a really negative thing. But if you're able to like transition your mindset to perceiving it as a lesson, like you said, it really changes how you approach failure and how you're able to use that in the future to help you do better next time.
True.
So let's talk a little bit about like scaling your business and personal branding. So how can someone use their personal brand to help them grow their business and kind of link the two in a sense?
When it comes to your personal brand, I think when people this is where I started. You should look at your personal brand and be honest with yourself and say, what do I really like doing? Do I like speaking? Do I like dressing up? What do I like? And what are people drawn to me about? So once you figure that out, it's going to be very easy to use your personal brand to grow your business. Because I know a lot of entrepreneurs. I mean, look at Kylie Jenner, the best example in the world. She loves makeup. And she was using her Instagram to do makeup tutorials. And then she launched her own beauty line. So you sort of have to use your personal brand to launch your business. And that can really help you. And I think it's so beautiful if you're an expert at that industry and you launch a business in it, because people firstly will trust you, will trust your opinion. And one thing you should do is, if you work on your personal brand so hard and you work on your influence and you work on your following and you work on your branding, and you build a name for yourself, then you become bankable, then you become investable. Because one thing we should remember, people don't do business with you because they think you're the best. They do business with you because they like you, So once people like you, it's easy for them to trust you. It's easy for them to sort of buy into your products. It's easy for them to do anything. Because I even know people who enter my pageants, they enter because they like me and they've been following my journey. I mean, my last year's winner went over to India and won the United Nations pageant. And we talked when we were in India, and she said, I entered your pageant is because I've been following your journey from day one and I really liked you. So that was a testament to me that people will do business with you because they like you.
Yeah, I think you mentioned some great things there. I think that you were spot on when you said that, like, building your personal brand will help you launch your business. And this is something I've been thinking about a lot lately, because I've been really focusing on like promoting my brand of the podcast, but I haven't done much personal branding myself, like on my own social media and that sort of stuff lately. And I'm going to try to make that shift. I'm going to start really pushing my personal brand, because one thing that I've noticed is that, like, all these, like, the big entrepreneurs that everyone knows about, they all have a strong personal brand that they've been working on for a long time.
True, that's very true. That's also what I've noticed. And one thing about working on your personal brand and having a personal brand, remember, it's easier for the media to cover you, because the media want money from business. So if you come as a young entrepreneur and you say, this is what I've done, this is me, they will literally cover you, because the media is always looking for persons of interest and interest stories. So that's one thing that I've learned, that people are more reluctant to invest in a person than a business, because they want money from a business and not a person. So growing and working on your personal brand will literally help you. Because I know when I get invited to speak at events or to attend events, I literally use my personal brand to sort of link it to my business and say, by the way, I have this and this and this and this. And then people are drawn to that. So I think it will be very easier for you if you have a strong personal brand and use that to link it to your businesses.
Yeah. One of my past guests, just a couple episodes before this one, he was talking made a similar comment that with a personal brand, if you do like speaking events, sometimes if you're going into that as like a company, they like almost want to charge you because it seems like you're going to give a sales pitch. Whereas if you speak as you're like a person or personal brand, it's more or less like they would almost want to pay you to come speak. So it's weird how it can be such a large difference in perception between a business brand and a personal brand. But I think you're spot on with that, and I appreciate your advice there.
Thank you so much. And yeah, it's definitely true. People are more drawn to people. I think one thing we forget in the world is that, human connection is so important. And people more than ever these days, they seek human connection. We want to connect as humans. I mean, it's just in our nature and in our DNA, than rather seeing this big brand business. Because people have this perception that a business just wants to make money and sell stuff to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. Since we're about halfway through our episode, we're going to take a moment for a brief advertisement. My good friend Jared Dent from AK3 Marketing has a special offer for everyone listening to the Student Built Startups podcast right now. If you're starting a business or are in the need of a rebrand for your current business due to the current economic downturn, now is the best time to act. Visit ak3marketingshop.com/ Startup Business Plan and pick up this simple fill-in-the-blank 2-page business plan, which answers all the key questions needed to set the foundation of your business and marketing strategy. The link is in the show notes. So how does someone know if they're ready to take their business from maybe a small like mom and pop shop or a small business that's just doing maybe a few $100s a month or $1,000 a month? And how do they know when they're ready to actually like start scaling and maybe adding new products, adding new revenue streams, or maybe building a team around them?
Firstly, I would say if you see the money is flowing in, cash flow, it's always an indicator. If you have an amount of money that is always left behind after you paid what you needed to pay and do what you needed to do, then it is time. And another thing is customers. If your customers are raising through the roof and people are constantly buying from you and are interested in you and people are asking and wanting more. And I think that's the power and the beauty of social media these days, is that people can DM you. It's so easy. They can comment on your social media post that they want more from you. If you see that interaction and the traction is growing, then it's definitely time to scale your business. And you must not, I think when we say scaling, I think sometimes you get it confused. People think you should go big or go home and get this huge team and move to a bigger building. Sometimes scaling just means diversifying your product. Sometimes scaling means bringing in one person. Sometimes scaling is, making your products available to another country without really, extending your overheads and your employees. So I think the two important things is profit and your customers if they're rising in numbers.
Awesome. You shared some really good stuff there. I think that kind of how you mentioned scaling is not necessarily what most people think of scaling, but you can do it in smaller or different ways than might be apparent on the surface.
Yeah, true.
So what are some common mistakes that you see people make when they try to scale their business or grow their business?
I think the first one is they scale it too quickly. Sometimes you need, in a business, you literally need to make profit, to keep the profit, keep it running, and to see when it's the right time to scale. Because some people have like one good month and they think it's time to scale. You literally need to have like a sustainable and a consistent time growth of your business, and you see as growing each month, you're making profits each month. Because some businesses are also seasonal, and sometimes you will have one good month, one bad month. So I think you should just sit with yourself, sit with your books, and look at the growth pattern of your business, and don't rush scaling. And another thing that people do is that they literally when they scale, like I mentioned before, they think it's getting more overheads. They think it's getting a bigger building. They think it's employing 10 more people. And sometimes it's really not. Sometimes you just have to diversify your product. You just have to get in one person. And I think the nice thing about today's business is that you can outsource so many things. I mean, you don't have to employ a graphic designer full-time. You don't have to employ an accountant full-time or a bookkeeper or a marketing person. So sometimes it's just outsourcing resources just to grow your business for that time period. And I think those are the two mistakes that people often make.
Okay. Yeah. I totally can see those being two big mistakes. I know from personal experiences and seeing other people do it, I think that growing too quickly or scaling too quickly is pretty common. And I think it's almost like once you start seeing some results, it's like you just have that itch to like just keep pouring gasoline on the fire, but it's like eventually that gallon of gasoline that you're holding is going to blow up.
Exactly, and burn you.
Yeah. So what is your like strategy that you use to grow your like social media following and just grow your personal brand in general?
The first strategy that I use is interaction. A lot of people and a lot of entrepreneurs these days that I've seen, I don't know in America, but everybody wants to act like they're a celebrity or they're this big brand or this huge deal. And I want to tell them, like, you're not. Come down, you're only starting out. So interact with your followers, respond to DMs, reply to comments, like your followers' things, follow back people, share their content, and people appreciate that. And that's one thing that I've learned. And people will be so willing to share your things if you share their things. They will be so willing to support you if you support them. They'll be willing to comment, willing to even refer people to your business. So I say the first thing is definitely interaction when you're trying to grow. Interact, make sure that you build a personal relationship with everyone you interact with, especially your clients, people who are bringing money into your business. Secondly, I would say use the media to your advantage. As I said before, the media is always looking for a person of interest or interest story. Approach the media as much as you can. I know sometimes you won't always get a response or a reply, and it does happen, but keep pushing. Send out press releases, call them, always push, always push. Because once people see you on a newspaper, they will want to go follow you on your Instagram, or if they see an article about you on a cool business site, they will want to find out more about you, or they see you on TV. They'll be like, who is this guy? Let me follow him. Fellow entrepreneurs will do that, and hashtags also help out a lot. Reach out to people, DM people. And also collaboration is also what truly will help you grow your business and your following. Collaborate with fellow entrepreneurs. Collaborate with the people that are in the industry with you. And collaborate with brands. Just do so much collaboration. Because once you pop on another person's Instagram account, their followers see you and they want to follow you. And lastly, I would say the one thing I forgot what I was going to say.
It's all good.
The last thing is get a mentor. I've learned so much from mentors. People who are in the same industry as you, who are doing what you want to do. They've been in your shoes. They've been where you are. And these people will literally open their network to you. They'll open their vast amount of knowledge to you. They'll even be willing to help you out in any situation. And I think it will really open your mind when you are on a table or around a table sitting around your mentor and they are talking about figures that you cannot even imagine, or showing you that it is really possible and you should dream big.
Yeah, you dropped some awesome value bombs there. So I really liked how you shared something that I haven't really heard before. When you're talking about social media, when you're interacting with people, I think most people perceive that as liking like comments and responding to comments and DMs. But when you started talking about like sharing other people's stuff and going and liking their photos and following people back, I think that's like a whole nother like level of interaction that can really set you apart from other people that are trying to interact with their following. I think that was a really great insight there.
And it really does help. I know this one influencer in South Africa. She grew her following by interacting with her followers. And this girl is literally getting acting roles on national TV. She's getting to work with big brands like Coca-Cola and Vodacom. So she literally just interacted with her followers on Twitter, followed back her followers, responded to her DMs. Even now when her following is like huge, she still does the same. And she even has this thing where she helps out other people to grow their following. On a random Monday, she just post a handle and say, guys, please follow her back. So I've seen a trend in that in South Africa, and it's really growing and becoming so much popular because it's not in South Africa. It's just not like in America. In America, because it's such a big country, and you guys, I feel like you glamorize celebrities so much and you praise them. And I'm like, it's crazy. In our country, celebrities are walking amongst us. I mean, if I go to town, I'd probably run into like 2 celebrities. So they are amongst us. And people in South Africa are sort of sick and tired of having celebrities who don't interact with them, who don't care, who live in this like bubble. So they want more than ever this new generation of entrepreneurs and celebrities and influencers to be interactive. And if you are interactive and if you show that human side of you and you manage to have human connection with people, they will totally support you.
I really like that. I think that's an awesome point there. I could see that shift happening even here in America, because like I can already see it starting to happen. There's a lot of entrepreneurs and kind of celebrities that are popping up, and they're, I think, doing that probably because of how much interaction that they're doing. So I think you're kind of catching on to that a little early in the game, and I think that's going to be a huge kind of, for everyone listening right now, a huge insight for them to take some action upon.
Yeah, definitely. I think if they catch on now, they'll be like the leaders of the industry in a couple of years.
Yeah. Um, so what is one piece of advice that you would give to someone who has a steady business, but they want to take it to the next level?
I would say branding. Start with branding first. Because I'm telling you, if you have a really good logo, people are going to think, oh my gosh, this is an amazing business. You know, start with a very good logo. Start with a very nice Instagram page or Facebook page. Like work on the aesthetics. Because more than ever these days, when businesses are moving more digital, people are drawn to aesthetics. You don't want to follow an Instagram page that looks like a hot mess and it has unclear photos and this person doesn't respond. So I think if you start with your branding as a business, you brand yourself and you set the tone for your business and you become consistent. That is the first step to sort of stepping up your game and scaling your business and taking it to the next level. And another thing about taking it to the next level is being as professional as you can. People like people who are professional. I mean, if you buy a product from a business that you know this person will deliver, like they said, on like in 3 days, they responded to my DMs, they answered me in proper English, they don't use slang, and they check up on the customers. Professionalism will take you a long way, and that builds customer loyalty, which will also help you get to the next step. Because once you have loyal customers, you can add on more customers who become loyal. Because there's a rule that says 90% of your profits usually come from the 90% of the customers that constantly and keep on buying from you, not your new customers.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I really agree with you there. One thing that I kind of related that to was one of my previous guests had a quote that was, if you want to be paid more money, you have to be worth more money. And so it's kind of just a reflection of like people's perceptions about you. If you're interacting with them in a professional way, if you use proper grammar, if you wear decent clothing, they're going to perceive you as whatever you're doing or selling being more valuable.
True. And one thing you mentioned, decent clothing. I think as entrepreneurs, I know the hoodies are cool because all the billionaires are wearing hoodies and they look all cool. But remember, they're billionaires. They don't have to convince anyone to invest in them. They already built such a brand, you know. With upcoming entrepreneurs, in order for you to have a seat at the table, or in order for people to take you seriously, you have to look the part. People want to invest in people who look good, who smell good. I mean, the people we follow on Instagram, they look good, they smell good. You're like, oh my gosh, this person looks amazing. They dress well. They have this amazing lifestyle. And that's also one thing I've learned with my personal brand. And one thing I also sell with my business, because when I pitch to people to enter my pageants, I'm like, look what I've managed to do with entering a pageant, managed to travel overseas. I've managed to have this amazing lifestyle. I managed to do so many businesses. So people also are very attracted to what you must literally be a template of what you're selling. Lead by example.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great piece of advice there. So we're going to move on to the Fast Five section. I'll ask 5 questions and we'll just go through those pretty quick. So what's the most valuable learning experience that you've had?
The most valuable experience that I've had is just start. I think as a young person, I was so afraid to start. I had so much fear when I wanted to start something. But once I got into this momentum, I just realized, just start. Starting is just beautiful. Just do it. And starting is the most difficult phase in any process, whether you're trying to achieve a goal, trying to achieve anything. Just get started and throw yourself in the deep end. And I think that has helped me grow so much as a person, and it has helped me learn so much. Because one thing about throwing yourself in the deep end is you have to learn to swim. So take that as you have to learn new skills. You have to learn new tactics, new methods, new everything. And that grows you and helps you as a person. And ultimately, it will help your business and grow it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, starting it's eventually like the most important thing that you do, because if you never start, you never do anything. So.
Get anywhere. Yeah.
What is one book that you would recommend?
I would recommend Think and Grow Rich. The reason being is because I believe in thoughts. thoughts becomes things. What you put out into the universe will come back to you. And if you look at any person and any entrepreneur is successful, it all started with a simple thought. So take your thoughts seriously, take your ideas seriously, and implement them.
Yeah, you just gave a pretty great summary of the book. What is one business tool that you would recommend?
More than ever, I'd say social media. Social media these days is the place to go. Companies like Coca-Cola, most of their budget is going to social media marketing. Like, social media is definitely the way to go, because that leads traction to your websites. It's accessible to everybody. Social media platforms have millions of people on it right now. I mean, people are more on social media than on TV. I know these days, all the events that I want to attend, I find on social media. The books that I want to read, on social media. The products that I didn't know I needed, on social media, more than on TV. And also with TV moving to platforms like Netflix, Netflix is advertising on social media. So I think more than ever, people should invest in digital platforms. And I think that's the best way to go. And I'm a living testament to that. I started all my businesses on social media.
Yeah. What's your go-to platform? If you had to just pick one as a go-to, I'm sure you use all of them, but if you had to pick one.
I would say Facebook, because in South Africa, Facebook is very popular, more than Instagram. And there's one cool thing. There's certain network providers in South Africa that let you use Facebook for free. So almost everybody in South Africa, especially young people, are on Facebook more than on Instagram. Because Instagram, for South Africans, since we are quite a country that's living in poverty, Instagram, it's for the bougie people with money, and it's about lifestyle, and nobody wants to be a part of that. They feel pressured. So I would say Facebook.
Okay, cool. I wasn't aware of that social media might vary differently in other countries that widely, because I know here in America it's like Facebook and Instagram are literally one and the same, pretty much.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So real quick, I'm kind of curious. Is TikTok a thing in South Africa yet?
It is such a thing. You don't understand. It's as popular as it is in America. Okay. Everybody is on TikTok, and lockdown and quarantine has made all South Africans go to TikTok.
Yeah, it's the same thing here. So, how do you go about scheduling your time and planning things ahead?
I am such a planner. I plan my day, my week, my year, my month, my 3 months, my 5 months, my 5 years, my 10 years. I believe in the power of planning, because I'm one person who believes you design life. Life doesn't happen by coincidence. Things don't come your way. You literally have to decide where you want to be, how you're going to get there, what you need to get there, and literally work towards it every single day. And one thing I also learned is just do it. And also, don't rely on motivation. Just be disciplined. Don't do motivation, do discipline.
Yeah, that's a really good quote there. I don't know which quote I'm going to pick to use on my social media to promote this. You've said so many. So next question here is, what is the number one thing that drives your motivation? I know you just said use discipline, but if you had to pick one thing that drives your motivation, what would you say that is?
I'd say poverty is the air wind under my wings. Growing up in poverty, not being able to afford certain things, having to struggle, literally motivated me and pushes me every single day, never ever to go back to that place.
Yeah, everyone that I've talked to that's came up through poverty has a very similar mindset about that. And I think that is honestly one of the great things, if you do go through that life experience, that you just have this mentality and mindset that sets you apart from others.
True.
Well, Mpho, you gave some great information about branding, scaling, your awesome story. But before we wrap up, I will ask you to provide one main takeaway for the audience.
I think one thing that I've taken away is believe in yourself so much, take risks, just start, have discipline, and just do it. Chase after every dream that you have. And I think as young people, we have the availability of time and that we are so young and we can still make mistakes.
Absolutely. I could not agree with you more there. I think, especially as young people, go after your dreams and don't be afraid to do it because you're young, you have time, you can fail, make up for it. Just go out and do it. You're spot on there.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. But before we leave, where can the audience find more about you and your business?
They can follow me on my personal Instagram page. I have all my businesses there on my bio. It's at Mpho Botha _ so it's MPHO BOTHA _
All right. And I will put the link to that in the show notes. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast and sharing your story and your knowledge. It was a great experience.
Thank you so much for having me on this platform. It's really amazing that we can connect two continents. And I loved being on this show. I can't wait to listen to the podcast.
I am super happy I was able to share Mpho's story with you guys. And thanks again for being on the show, Mpho. And thanks to everyone listening right now. I truly appreciate your support on this journey. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Make sure to leave a rating and a written review. I would really appreciate it. And I highly encourage you to go check out studentbuiltstartups.com. We have the show notes for this episode, the highlights for everything that we talked about, as well as a link to the special offer in the middle of the episode. Thanks again, and I will catch you on the next episode.